Hi everyone, welcome to our ALF core training webinar. It's also a webinar that we put into our continuing education for assisted living facility administrators and managers. My name is Kalei Stockstill. I run Ocean Breeze Gardens Assisted Living along with my wife Cheryl. Cheryl's on the webinar with us.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. I'm here.
Okay. So today we're going to cover another survey that we found that had a lot of good information, and I think that you'll appreciate some of the things that we talk about.
Well, we
So
even learned some things.
yes, we did.
We're always
Yeah.
learning.
So let's get right to it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have the survey pulled up here. All right. So can you all see my screen, Cheryl? Do you see the?
I have it.
Okay.
Yep.
So this was back in 2012. It doesn't matter, but it's still current. There was a Cheryl. You want to take over from this? You want to start it?
Sure. This is a smaller facility. It is licensed as an LNS, Limited Nursing Service facility, and this was their monitoring visit. The state comes out, ACA comes out every 6 months to monitor this facility because it has a specialty license, so they get inspected all the time. At the time of the survey, they didn't have any residents that were receiving the limited nursing services, but they found deficiencies at the time.
Okay. So that's one little perk that you get for having an LNS license is you're going to get inspections quite often. Okay.
Interesting how they do that.
What's that?
It's interesting how they do that.
Yeah, they were trying to change that because it's definitely a burden on the surveyors. Yeah, it's a lot, and the facilities themselves, but it's definitely a lot of extra work for them. So anyway, there were quite a few tags, and in fact, this survey resulted in, I don't know if it was part of the process. What it does it result in a $9,000 fine? What?
It was a really high fine, yes. Because I
And it
guess
may not have,
they probably didn't correct the deficiency when they came back out.
or this is the second fine, and the
Right.
way fines work is they escalate. So maybe last year they got a $250 fine, and then the next step in the process is going to be this $9,000 fine. So
I did. I remember seeing the step out. This was their most recent fine, but there were
second,
fines before it. Right.
right?
Goodness.
Yep, and it escalates and escalates. So you got to fight them, if you can. We always recommend a local attorney here, but he works all over the state, Jeff Smith from Smith and Associates, and they can help you try to get some of these things reclassified and try to avoid the fines because so it doesn't start to cascade. So the first tag, the first citation we see here is for medication records, 58A-5.0185, Section 5.
And a lot of things fall under those medication records. It's not just the MORs and records, but upon inspection, and these are common. This happens probably at most facilities. So they did, because they always do a record review when they come. So they did their record review, and they did residents 1 through 5. So looks like they did all 5 residents, and they revealed during their inspection that the medication observation record, the MOR, did not reflect the residents had received their medications as prescribed. I think when you start looking at inspections, there's a lot of facilities have those tags. I mean, we've had them too in the past. It's just one of those things that it's common, and you really need to kind of almost assign someone a medication.
Well, the thing that's tough about medication is it's always changing, and we're supposed to be perfect all the time, and it's to be honest with you, it's practically impossible. I mean, who can be perfect all the time? But anyway, so this facility,
this one's bad.
They didn't give us prescribed.
But they had the MORs were blank for the month of September. So
wow.
I mean
Well, go
blank.
ahead and finish reading the. Go ahead and finish reading the findings, Cheryl.
But they were blank. I mean, the MRs were blank for September, so yeah. I mean, are they even given medication? I'm sure they are. They're just not charting it. It's possible they're not. It just doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Additionally, the residents number 6 and number 7 didn't have an MOR form in their record. So, I mean,
Yeah, that
right
was
there,
pretty obvious. That.
yeah, that's just not like they forgot to sign on the 15th of the month, or, they just going through the whoever's doing the medication just missed a spot. So that's pretty bad, pretty hard to correct. And I mean, it just leads them to believe that you're not even following doctor's orders or giving medication at all for the month of September.
Well, really, I mean, if this were our facility, I mean, it says on this inspection was on September 4th, so technically
Right. Like
you
four
would have been able
days.
to catch it that nobody was signing the MOR if you check it every couple days to see that it wasn't given. So, I mean, those things you'd catch.
Right. It
But
just
that's,
seems like lack of supervision.
yeah, but that's multiple employees too, unless they had just one person there all the time.
Uh-huh.
I mean, technically, in our facility, that would have been over 4 or 5 days, how many employees would have been able to tell
Right.
us that, hey, something's not right here. But there was a break in communication there somewhere. So that is avoidable for sure. And then the no MORs, there's no excuse.
Right. Well, when they interviewed the LPN, who is the administrator, she stated that she had not completed the records, but the residents had received their medications as prescribed.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean,
Just write the
yeah.
MOR, no matter, people move in
Well,
and just got to
yeah.
get it done.
I mean, maybe they're still handwriting them, which is a lot of work, but I mean, they should get a records management program.
Yeah,
We
like
have
records
one.
for care.
Yeah, records for care. It's very easy. We can just go through. We print them off and edit them, make changes. So if you're going to handwrite them, it's think it's something you have to remember, and it's a lot of work. So she
Yep.
said she was given medications, but she didn't have the form and document because she wasn't finished with them. It's still
You're probably right. They
yes.
were probably handwriting them, and maybe she had to rewrite it because it was all a mess. But boy, I tell you,
I will never go back to handwriting.
yeah.
Never.
All right. Um, okay, so that one was definitely avoidable. It was her systems in place that got her those citations because if the LPN went through the books every couple days, she'd notice the blank signatures, and then obviously if she wasn't handwriting the MORs, then she wouldn't have been procrastinating on
Oh, yeah, I
doing
mean,
it.
you just got busted, basically. It's freaking,
Yeah.
you're
But you're an
busted.
LNS, and
Come
you're
on,
you're
you're
going
an
to get an
LPN,
inspection
you're an
every.
LNS, you're going to get inspected. You don't have MORs on day 4?
I know.
All right.
Okay, so the next tag they got was medication storage and disposal. Of course, so you need to.
After that first hit right there with not having an MOR, that's
Yeah,
just going to set off a big flag for the surveyors. They're going to start digging. They're going to start, your eyes are going to widen. They're going to start looking for every little thing in the facility, and it just leads to more things. Like, here's the next one.
yeah,
Not having medication stored properly.
yeah,
Residents who are independent and can administer their own medications, they may keep the medication in their room, but it has to be stored and in a secure location out of sight from other residents. When that resident leaves for the day with their family, their bedroom door needs to be locked, or the medication needs to be locked in the bedroom so residents can't go in and get to it too. So what happened was they were doing the facility tour with the administrator, and they looked at the resident number 6 in the private room.
you kind of broke up there a lot, so can you just start that part over? The beginning of your story,
Sure.
Cheryl?
Yes, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, because I didn't. Yeah, I hear you now. But go ahead. Were you telling a story?
Well, I don't know. I don't know where we cut off. But anyways, I was talking
Okay.
about residents who are able to self-medicate, and the doctor has checked that off on the 1823 health assessment form. They're allowed to keep medications in their bedrooms, but there's rules to that. It has to be secure, and out of sight from other residents. So if they leave for the day with their family, that door needs to be locked or the medication needs to be locked. Same as in a shared room, they have to make sure they have some sort of secure place, lockbox, to put the medications in. So when the surveyor was doing the facility tour at this particular place, they looked into resident number 6's private room, and they saw that medications were left unsecured on top of the dresser and at the bedside table. So they saw multiple bottles of eye drops, a nebulizer, respiratory treatment medications, oral medications, Diavan, Lasix, fish oil, vitamin D. So just sitting there out in the open, so they have to assume it's not secure. Somebody can go in and get to it. You have residents with different levels of care, memory issues, and they may go into another resident's room and take the medication, so you're putting them at risk. So when they asked the administrator what was going on with resident number 6, and the administrator stated that she was able to administer her own medications and respiratory treatments. So
Yeah,
they also
they also did not have a physician's order for the residents to self-administer their own medications, but it seems strange that you wouldn't have an 1823 health assessment form that says that. Maybe their health assessment form said that they needed assistance with self-administered medication. So, right, I mean, because that's what it's, they got tagged that they didn't have a physician's order, but technically you should get that on the health assessment form. Are you there, Cheryl?
Right, yes. I was just, you were
Yeah.
reading down a little bit more, so I was just catching up with you.
Yeah,
They
because
also had the other resident, too. He had the blood glucose testing and administered insulin to himself, so kept the EpiPen in his room. But right, I see that where, they didn't have the orders for them to self-administer meds. I mean, these things just, guys, you've got to get this right away. Cover your bases. I mean, these are basic things that can save you a lot of time, energy, and deficiencies here. And
well,
these resulted in fines. So
I'm snowballed, right? So the surveyor walked by the room and saw the pills sitting on the table. So then it led her to find out, does this person self-administer? And then, she self-administers, leaves the. So I know I've got a tag here. Let me find other evidence of it. She interviewed the other resident. She found out that he self-administered. Let me see if they have an order to self-administer, and then they got tagged for all that. So storage and records, more records.
Right. And here's the next one is failure to label. This one can be tricky sometimes, and it's hard to be perfect. But sometimes when a resident moves in, the family hands you. This happened to us. I mean, it happens all the time. Just a pill bottle. They scratch the labels off. Sometimes they alter the labels themselves and write changes on them. There's new medication in old bottles that are expired. They combine things. They cut them in half themselves and quarter them and do all kinds of things. Also, under this rule, the labeling and stuff, another thing to look for is when they come back from the doctor with sample packs. And there's certain ways that those have to be labeled, and you have to have directions, and the doctor's name and the date dispensed, resident's name, strength, drug. Often, more times than not, they come back with absolutely nothing, just this box of medication, very little to none instructions, and you have to go ahead and chase it back down and find out how to administer those. So this facility, again, the surveyor was making an observation of medication storage for the facility, so she was looking through probably the cabinets and she found a white tackle box labeled with resident number 7's name. So in this white tackle box was just loose medication. No names, not labeled. So the administrator, how she explained is she explained that the resident had only been admitted to the facility for only 3 days. And the surveyor opened the box and observed 16 small box sections filled with various medications. In the box, they were, not labels. On the lid, there was a list of names of all the medication and the unit dose, the prescribed dose, the supply on hand, and refill dates. But the LPN administrator stated that she was uncomfortable with medications being taken out of the original package from the dispensing pharmacy. But, obviously that's probably how the family does it. They've been loaded in a tackle box forever. And he's only been there for 3 days. So I can completely see this. But don't you think this is kind of this one's just kind of bad luck, too?
This is tough because, I mean, this happens all the time. The families come, here, take, here's my mom's medications, and boom, she's in your facility, and you've got these medications, and you've got to deal with it. So if you can, get the medications ahead of time and say, before you move in, I'd like to see the medications and physically look at them and how they're packaged, because in this situation, I mean, where do you even go? What do you do? I mean, yeah, I guess what you'd have to do, Cheryl, is you just have to say, hey, family member, you're going to have to give her the medications until this is labeled properly.
Yeah,
right?
that is one way, or, refill them. It's tough. It's tough. We just had that happen at our place when someone moved in. I was like, they threw away all the packaging. Mm-hmm. So it's difficult when someone moves in. A lot of times,
it's not that simple. A lot of times, insurance won't pay for a new.
No, I know.
Thing. So that's a tough one. I mean, it's tough for them to cite her with this. I know they have to, but boy, I tell you, 3 days she moved in, but.
Yeah, but you have all these other things that they've spotted, so there's no leeway on this one.
No.
They look guilty, even if they're not guilty.
And I'm telling you, having a tackle box with loose medications and no packaging, and I don't even think that I would accept it.
No, absolutely not. Well, I think you're right, Clay. The family's going to have to do it until these meds can be refilled properly.
That's it. That's the only solution, because unless the resident can self-administer, if the resident can self-administer, the family can fill a pill box and give it to them. But I mean, that all depends. I mean, if you have an 1823, which she may not have had an 1823.
No, she didn't.
So I guess, I mean, who's to say the resident couldn't self-administer?
How about a little tip, guys? Get the 1823 prior to moving. It's such a great tool. It's so difficult to get after they move in. It's difficult to get things changed, and you get it beforehand. You know what to expect. You can have an opportunity to fix things before they get into your facility, and it's too late.
Or you can also use the 1823 to get everything refilled, right? If you have a pharmacy that you work with, so you could say, you keep all this tackle box medication, fish bait, whatever you want. I'm going to take this 1823, send it to my pharmacy that you set up with, and we're going to get everything packaged, labeled properly. So you got to set yourself up for success no matter how much you want this person to move in. And you're always going to get pressure from the family and the rehab and the hospitals wanting to push this person into your facility. But, I mean, once they're there, they're just a bomb, and you can't fix it.
No. But, I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but getting down to all these things, I mean, it just doesn't seem like there's any supervision there. There's no administrator type person monitoring things. Or just,
well, really,
not careful.
No, I mean, the MORs aren't completed. I guess it would be hard to make an MOR for this resident, wouldn't it? I mean, how would you do it? So, to me,
that's the tackle box.
Yeah, this person got tagged for these things because she took them in the way they were. How can you fill an MOR out when you don't even have an 1823? You don't have properly labeled medication. Really, the only solution would be the family you deal with this until.
Right.
And it would have kept her out of this fine.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's see here. So now we move on. So, okay. So she was uncomfortable with the medications. She stated she did not have physician's orders for the medications to be given to the resident. She stated she didn't have an 1823. The administrator stated she didn't have a physician's order for the resident to self-administer his own medications. Also, she confirmed that she did not have a medication observation record documenting the medications. It's kind of weird. I mean, she got tagged like 3 or 4 things for one thing. The thing is, honestly, that she took this person in. There was no 1823, and there was all this loose medication in it, and it just created a real problem. Okay, the next thing that she got tagged for, and this is the one that is so interesting here for you guys.
I've never seen this one.
Okay, so basically they got tagged for physical plant standards, having a safe living environment. Okay, 58A-5.023, Section 3. And basically it's just a safe environment, free of hazards. But all of the stuff you think are normal, but the reason why she got tagged for it, and I'll read it to you, on September 4th, a large oxygen tank 5 feet tall with tubing attached was observed standing unsecured inside the resident's walk-in closet. Additionally, 4 small oxygen tanks were standing unsecured next to the large cylinder, and another small oxygen tank was observed secured in a rolling cart. So when they interviewed the administrator, she stated that the large oxygen tank was a backup supply for a resident who required 24-hour-a-day oxygen. The administrator stated she was unaware of the safety hazard of the unsecured oxygen tanks and the risk of the tanks falling over. She stated that she would immediately call the supplier to address the situation. But I am telling you, this is a citation, I mean a tag. She got a Class 3 tag, and it was A152. We all have this. This is how they deliver the oxygen. Everybody gets the one that plugs into the wall, and then they get the backup tanks, and they get the travel tanks. Anybody who's got oxygen's got these things lying around in their room. And I have never seen it anywhere in the code that says how we're supposed to properly secure it. But so what we did when we saw this, we went around and got everybody's oxygen tanks, and we put them all in a safe place outside of the residents' rooms, because we put them in like my office, or we put them in a storage room or something like that. Because really, if they don't need to be in her closet, they don't need to be in her closet.
Right. But, this is just another example of, once they start finding things, they'll just keep going. I mean, there's no, forgiveness or overlooking of, this. They could have turned an eye and said, look, when, I could have, as an administrator, said, oh, I wasn't aware, let me store them properly now, and then, they can check it. And sometimes they'll just accept that, and, they'll understand, but, not when you have other things like not having an MOR and different things they're finding. They're going to just keep writing you up.
Yeah. So this, it was just a couple of things that got this administrator in deep, deep water. And like we said, it ended up being a $9,000 fine. I don't know if the reason why they got the fine was because they didn't correct these things, or whatever it is, or it was an escalation. But it definitely, they were avoidable, I think. So it's good for you to take note. Go check your oxygen tanks in all your rooms, and I guess you could call the supplier and ask them if they have some sort of proper way to store these. I know that the little mini oxygen tanks have these little crates that they go in, but a lot of times, you call them and they deliver and they don't have the crates. They're just bringing you bottles, and you get bottles here and there, and the families take things out and they take a tank. So you got to just keep monitoring it, I guess. Best thing to do is just create a policy that oxygen tanks aren't stored in resident areas. So
that's a good one. Maybe in your office or something.
That's right.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard being an administrator. It's not, I know I've kind of ragged on the survey a little bit, but it's difficult. And, a lot of these people work really hard, and
Yep.
None of us are perfect, and it's intimidating when the state's there, and they're snapping at you or asking a million questions, and you can only train your staff so much. And I mean, we've had staff cup medicine and put it out and leave it out. And it's just, I mean, I've told them several times not to do that, but sometimes they just still do it. It's an ongoing thing, compliance.
Yeah,
Always looking for it.
you do. Yeah, just have to make it part of your everyday. And I'm sure a lot of you who are watching this run facilities.
Calais? Calais?
Would encourage you to also, you can get credit for these webinars. We're going to include it in our continuing education that we put out every year. So Cheryl, thank you for your time. Anything else to add?
No, you had just cut out, so I don't know if it had shown up on the recording or not.
Oh, what did you hear me say last?
You were just nothing at the end, so.
Okay, we've just got a really bad connection, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for your time, everybody. Follow, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or thanks, Cheryl.
All right, bye-bye.